The FNL Network Talk Show.
Welcome to another episode of the FNL Network Talk Show. I'm your host, Diana Gebbia, and I am joined by three incredible women. We have Kay, we have Bettina, and we have Kat. And we have so much to talk about with you this week. Variety of topics, everything from celeb gossip to health and wellness and politics. We're mixing it up for you. So how about we just dive right in?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it. Let's
do this. All right. So I want to start with my personal favorite topic, celebrity gossip. And this week, like you could say kind of the gods blessed us with a juicy story. And by gods, I mean Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis' former nanny. So she leaked a bunch of allegations to the Daily Mail. So, you know, there's been an issue with Olivia and Jason and Harry Styles. There was kind of a love triangle there with the filming of Don't Worry, Darling. And the timeline of Olivia and Harry's relationship seemed a little sus, as the kids like to say. Did it overlap? You know, was it a clean break and then she moved on? So the nanny pretty much sent in her 2 cents saying that she definitely did not have a clean break. There was some overlap there and kind of spilled some really intimate text messages with information of fights between the couple and like, aren't they getting back together? And this was all leaked to the Daily Mail. So what I want to know with you guys is, A, what do you think of all this? Do you think the nanny was right to do all this? With celebrity gossip, do you like celebrity gossip? Do you think it kind of crossed a line? And I'll start with Bettina.
Okay. First of all, I really like Olivia Wilde. I used to watch her in a different show. I think it was called The OC.
Yeah.
I really liked her in that. So that was my first thought. But I think this gossip of private information to people is very unfair and not necessary. I mean, as an actress, at least for me, I'm a trained actress. I like to think of it as a craft. And I just hate the idea of people gossiping about this other stuff. It's really none of our business, and I just don't think it should be a thing. And I think that nanny was completely wrong. I think divulging people's secrets is one of the worst things you can do. So, well, that's my opinion.
Totally. And also, I wonder how much money did the Daily Mail pay her for this? Because I'm sure it wasn't retirement money. And I don't think she's going to be finding any other high-profile nannying jobs.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Anytime soon.
That's right. She's done in that business. Well,
Hey, what did you think of the whole situation? Oh, I'm sorry, Bettina. I cut you off.
Maybe it was a ton of money. We don't know how much.
We don't know. And she's probably never going to come forward. So that's that. Unless someone leaks her info. That's karma for you.
Yeah.
Hey, what did you make of the whole situation?
Okay, so listen, when you said do you follow celebrity gossip? I'm I don't feel like I follow it, but I feel like, especially when it comes to the Olivia Wilde, Harry Styles, Jason Sudeikis situation, it finds me. I'm minding my business on Instagram. I see something about Jason Sudeikis laying down in front of the car for a salad dressing recipe. I'm like, what is going on? You know, people went crazy because they thought Harry Styles spin on Chris Pine. It's just been like a snowball crazy. And so, first of all, Diana, because I know you follow it, as a follow-up to this, I want you to tell me everything about the salad dressing situation, because I could not find the correct amount of detail that I wanted for it. Okay. I do find it interesting that maybe she gave up her dog. Okay, I'm getting deeper in. Okay, so my overview is that the New York Times came out with an article a couple of years ago just talking about TMZ, The Wrap, all of these different gossip sites, and how celebrity gossip is a $3 billion industry, which is insane, right? So I think celebrity gossip has existed since celebrity has existed, right? lot of times the studios used to create the gossip so they could create buzz around their favorite stars and all this different kind of stuff. I think it's just morphed into something for the technology age, right? So since social media is popular, of course, then gossip will be popular on social media sites. And I think with celebrity is just something that comes with celebrity, right? Like paparazzi, you know? And so what I find interesting though is that you get people who are inside kind of the circle of trust coming out telling information, which has to feel like a violation to these people. So, I mean, as a celebrity, I would be like, well, I'm used to paparazzi and I'm used to people like speculating, but somebody inside your circle of trust coming out, that really sucks. Like you got to admit, like that's a violation. And so in the text, it seemed like, though, that Jason was kind of on the nanny side. You know, they were kind of in cahoots, like, oh, I can't believe she's doing that. And they were gossiping back and forth about Olivia. Like, she didn't call the kids today. Did you hear she gave her dog away? You know, they were doing that back and forth. So I was like, oh my gosh, you can't, you know. So the nanny just let everybody in on their like little personal gossip her and Jason had, which I thought was just insane. I think it would be difficult for a lot of people to pass on the amount of money. I was reading up on the JC. Do you guys remember when Jay-Z and Solange, you can't even call it a fight, when Solange was trying to kick Jay-Z in that elevator with Beyonce? And somebody released the video, right? There are speculations that the person who released the video got up to $250,000 for that. And so this whole Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis, like their situation has been ongoing and full of drama since he served her with papers when she was on stage. So I feel like whoever did it, I don't know, maybe they got a lot of money for it. And I think that it's really obvious to me that the nanny has an axe to grind. She just seems very vengeful and very upset. And I think her place in the family is really interesting because in one of the texts, she was like, Olivia's so selfish. I called her today and she didn't even ask how I was doing. I was like, girl, her whole marriage is dissolving in front of, you know, like the whole world while she's trying to promote a movie. Yeah. She has a hot new boyfriend and she has kids. Why is she gonna be asking you how you doing? Like, I was like, this nanny is hilarious and a mess herself. I was like, oh, everybody in the situation a mess, you know, because Jason delivering the papers to her, that's messy. You know, she and her timeline with Harry Styles leaving her man, that's messy. You know, the nanny situation is messy. I was like, all of y'all just a mess all around. It's a mess trifecta, you know, like, yeah. So I mean, I just find it interesting and kind of sad. I think it kind of does cross the line when you talk about being in someone's circle of trust. That aspect of it sucks, but I think also like a lot of things are just part and parcel of what comes with being a celebrity. I also am not a person that approves of any kind of like extramarital affairs. That really sours me. But I do have to say, I think it would be really different if Olivia Wilde was a man and she was dating a younger woman. And I think that happens a lot with directors. We know that they're cheating on their wives or they have an affair and people are like, oh, what a pig. But she's getting an inordinate, I feel like, amount of scrutiny. And I think I think a part of that is because she is a woman. And I feel like she seems very unapologetic about it because she's bagged Harry Styles. And I feel like I don't care what y'all say. Like, I'm living my life. Y'all can take my dog. Like, I don't have time to take care of him because I'm hanging out with Harry, which I have to say, I have not seen a dog yet that I would choose over Harry Styles. And I will end with that.
Oh my God, amazing. And I will fill you in on that salad dressing because it was
okay.
Wake up one morning and it's like salad dressing car. Like, what in the hell is going on here? So apparently Olivia allegedly made this like salad dressing and the whole family loved it. Jason loved it, kids loved it. And then she was seen like making a salad for Harry with the dressing, and there was a whole argument. And then on the way out the door, like when Olivia was gonna leave, like Jason was like, no, and he allegedly laid in front of the car to stop her. This is according to the nanny. Now, I don't know if I buy the whole like, I'm gonna lay in your car in the name of the salad dressing. Like, that to me me is just not, I don't know, especially because she posted on her Instagram stories the recipe, which it came from, I believe it was a Nora Ephron book. I don't know if she was just joking with this, because I think the book is about divorce. So I don't know if she randomly found a salad dressing recipe in that book and posted it, or if this is the one she made. Can I please tell you, it is the most basic salad dressing ever. Even like one of my friends and I was talking it, she's like, I made it, and like honestly, I had to add agave in there. It was so bland. I think there was like Grey Poupon, like whatever you make the vinaigrette with. I don't know. I don't make salad dressing. I make everything else. I'm Italian. We make pasta. We don't make salad dressing. But it just seemed like the most like you go and order a Cobb salad and that's the dressing you get on it. So I refuse to believe that Jason Sudeikis put himself in harm's way in the name of a salad dressing. Kat, I know you are a fellow celebrity gossip lover, so I want to hear your 2 cents on this one.
Oh my God, I just love the whole situation about this. There's so much going on. I mean, there's the dog, there's the cheating, there is Florence Pugh having an affair with Harry Styles before Olivia Wilde got in there. Now, I'm going to say, I was on set early into the filming, and my God, did Florence and Harry, they were basically sitting on each other's knees between takes. And I was like, when it came out that it was Olivia and Harry, I was like, no, how could I be so wrong? I thought those two were hooking up because it was so in your face, it was untrue. Now, allegedly, that's an affair that happened. I'm not saying it did happen, but, you know, from my own eyes, I saw chemistry between those two. And then obviously he ended up with Olivia. So I love all this. But what I'm going to say is Olivia Wilde, she is enjoying this ride. She is loving the publicity. It's doing her film good. She is trending. Her fame has shot up. And she is just, as someone put it, a mediocre actress and a mediocre director. That is not my words. That is something I read, I think, last night. She is loving the fact that this is trending. She's loving having the toy boy that she flaunts about. She kind of goes to the concerts and she's there in her, you know, low cut dresses. She's dancing away. And yes, she probably generally is in love, but she is loving the publicity. She's loving the cameras. She's loving the limelight. And I'm going to say, everything I know about celebrity, they actually call the paparazzis themselves. I'm not saying that these people do. I mean, Harry is one of the most famous people on this earth. But Kardashians, they're like, hi, I'm going shopping. I'm going to be here at this time. Hailey Bieber, I'm coming out of Pilates class at this time. And they get the pictures, you know, it happens. And what I'm going to say is, as far as the nanny goes, if you don't have your NDA in place, then I'm sorry, the nanny deserves to make some money, because if you didn't get her to sign an NDA when you are that kind of celebrity, then I'm sorry, but that's probably something that you overlooked. Yes, there should be a natural trust thing, but this nanny also has to make money. And I'm going to say that I don't blame her for doing it at all. I don't. You can make massive money for selling a story. You can make money from selling, I had botched plastic surgery. I lived in a tent for 2 days. You can sell whatever. There's money for everything nowadays. And what I'm going to say is the whole celebrity thing, the whole dog thing. Yeah, I think Olivia was disgusting for giving up that dog. Her excuses were really poor. He doesn't like travel. He doesn't get on with toddlers. Are her kids toddlers? I think the youngest is like 4. That's not like a toddle, you know what I mean? I'm not sure if the true ages might be a bit older. But I think that she found that she wanted to be with Toy Boy more than she wanted to have a dog. I don't agree with that. The fact that she did rehome it with her New York dog walker, good on her, because at least he knew the person, he had a relationship with her, with him rather. But I think the whole circus is brilliant. I eat it up. I love it. The salad dressing, it was mustard. I think it was something stupid like mustard and cider vinegar. It was basic as F. And I'm going to say, you know, if that is the salad dressing, now, my God, every woman will be able to find a way to a man's heart through his stomach, because, I mean, it's very simple to create. It is very simple. But the whole situation, Olivia's got the publicity she wants. She is loving it. I don't think there's any such thing as bad publicity. I think she's coming out of this shining, although she, you know, people are questioning her infidelity and stuff like that. She is a one-track mind. She's on the fame game. Whether or not her and Harry last is to be seen, I don't know. That's, you know, what happens behind closed doors is that. But, you know, I do think that maybe she is gaining a lot more from being with him than he might be gaining from being with her. And I just think, you know, I think the fame game is really complex. And I think, you know, she's on the train. She wants to go from up the ladder, and she is going up the ladder just because she's resonating right now. She is trending. Every single news app you open, Olivia Wilde this, Olivia Wilde that. Jason is not trending that much because he's like the less famous person at the moment, although he's the better actor and everything else. I mean, he's kind of, she's going out and she is actually talking about stuff. She's going on talk shows and she's actually trying to clear her name. She's posting stuff on Instagram. She lied about, you know, sacking Shea, where, you know, he's released conversations and stuff that say that she begged him to come back. She lied about all that. Who knows what's true, what's not true? Take it with a pinch of salt. I love it. I eat it up and I think it's brilliant. It, to me, it's escapism from everyday worries, everyday life. And I think we all like a bit of the Kardashian for that reason. We like a bit of Olivia Wilde and a bit of Harry Styles. It's escapism from everyday life. I love it. I will eat it up all day, every day.
If they got married, her name would be Wild Styles. I just, okay, go ahead.
Oh my God,
Hey, that's already what they're called. They are wild. They're Wild and Styles. That's already kind of their nickname, Wild Styles, you know?
The Wild Styles.
It's insane. I mean,
yeah. No, Kat, I was going to say that you brought up a good point, because before all this, not that I was going to say Olivia Wilde was irrelevant, because she wasn't irrelevant, but I feel like Jason Sudeikis was the bigger household name. Obviously, Ted Lasso is huge right now, and he was on SNL. So I do think that this gossip is skyrocketing her to that next level. So I think she does get more out of it, and I think that's why she's probably more lenient to let it slide. As they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity, and I think that's what she's kind of following off this. I do think celebrity gossip does cross a line, though, and this is me, you know, guys, I have my page with Bravo updates and all that. I'm constantly following the reality stars, and do I get shady with them? Of course. Like right now I have a bone to pick with Lisa Rinna, and anything she says, I'm going to be like, did you see she did this? This is why it's wrong. However, there's a line to maintain, and I would never take that into personal life, right? Like at the end of the day, it's just a TV show. At the end of the day, these are just people too. Don't Worry, Darling is just a movie. And I think what The Nanny did kind of cross that line. It betrayed trust. I really hope, as I mentioned earlier, that she did get banged for that story, because there's no way she's getting another high profile client. There's just absolutely no way. And I do wonder if she signed an NDA, and if maybe breaking that contract, or because she went anonymously, like there was a loophole, or maybe it was cheaper for her to break that contract with the payout. Like there's just so many sides of the story. I could talk about this all day long till the cows come home, but I know we do have a lot more to talk about. So we're going to kind of switch.
Can I say one more thing? I say, if there was no fuel for the fire, then there would have been some kind of lawsuit filed. There has not been a lawsuit filed. Food for thought, people, food for thought. If there was no, but it is true. I mean, every celebrity who knows that something is 100% untrue files a lawsuit.
Yeah, it's interesting, where maybe the cost of lawyers, like there's so much to think about. It could be like the cost of lawyers, it's not worth it, or because slander, again, I can go on about this all day, like slander libel lawsuits, they at the end of the day are very hard to prove. They're very like, it's down to the nitty gritty and like what is hearsay, and if you phrase it this way, you know, it's just very interesting. But that's a good point. Like they did release a joint statement though, which I like that they came together as a united front for the first time we've seen in all this BS. So it was nice to see Jason and Olivia be like, hey, please leave us alone. Like we want the best for our children. Like let's move forward. So that was nice to see.
I'm going to say they have the money. They have a lot of money. If they actually wanted to make a proper statement, they would file a lawsuit. They might not win it, but they wouldn't be bothered about the money because it's peanuts to them, absolute peanuts. But it does say, I mean business, I didn't do this. That's what a lawsuit does. And by just coming out with a statement, it's a weak defense. It is a very weak defense.
Yeah, lots to think of about that, you know, many things that we don't see behind closed doors. But I do want to change gear because, you know, we just spoke about money. It's peanuts to them, but the rest of us Americans, we are budgeting, and a lot of us have to deal with student loans. And US President Joe Biden, he introduced, it was a loan forgiveness program. So he was going to forgive up to $10,000 of student loans. People are applying, and now the courts actually have put a stop to that right now. So that's also an interesting cog in this whole machine of student loan forgiveness. But what are your thoughts? There's a lot to look at. My Libra rising right now is really showing because I'm like, there's a lot to look at both sides on literally every single topic. But it's true, you know, I think that other countries, they have free college, free higher education. And if they can make it work, like, why aren't we looking at that model? People are getting upset because it's like, where are we getting, well, it's coming out of our pocket. Where are we getting the money for this? But in the same breath, they'll complain that nobody's educated these days. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that student loan forgiveness is something we should pursue? Should we be looking at other issues entirely? Kay, let's start with you.
I was very excited to hear about the student loan. I personally don't have any more student loan debt. When I was in college, I did a program that it was like an education program where as long as I worked at a low-income school and did this certain job, at the end, it's called AmeriCorps. It's dope if anybody's interested in it. But I worked in that program, and then when I got finished, it comes with what's called an education award. And the education award was able to relieve the student debts I had racked up. And also, I mean, honestly, like I went to undergrad like decades ago. So school was just straight up cheaper then. And then for graduate school, I was able to go really cheap because my husband works at a university, and I was able to, through his plan, get a master's degree in education for essentially free. So I'm really lucky that way. But my husband went to Ivy League graduate school, which was very expensive. And so we are paying for that. And I say we because he went to school, but we are married. And so I was really excited to hear about the student loan debt forgiveness. There are a lot of debt forgiveness programs out there depending on what you got your degree in and depending on who you work for. So it's not completely unheard of to have debt forgiveness for your student loans. But I mean, I think it's great coming from President Biden. I think it was a great idea. I know a lot of people are upset that it isn't, you know, more money, but I think it's a great price point that it's at right now. I think the problem we get into, especially in this country, is like everything has to be a zero-sum game. You know, it's like, well, we should be spending that money on other things. Listen, we don't have, it's not like we have $20 and we can only spend it in one place, right? Like we can fund multiple different programs. The other issue is, you know, you have people that are upset and like, it's not fair. Like the only thing that's fair has a Ferris wheel and cotton candy. Like that's what I told my kids when they were little. A fair has Ferris wheel and cotton candy. Life is not fair. You know what I mean? Unless you see a ride, life ain't fair. So first of all, get used to that. You know what I mean? And like I think what we need to be looking at it as not necessarily a social program. We need to look at it as a program that's going to help the economy. Because the longer you have people that are buried under debt, the longer you have people that are in or at the poverty line, that are not able to have true purchasing power, that aren't able to drive the economy. And so I think we need to look at it that way. I think also like just because somebody's getting something that I'm not getting doesn't mean that something's being taken away from me. Does that make sense? I remember a long time ago, I heard this comedian talking about his two kids. He had two daughters and he gave them both ice cream. And one was looking at the other's bowl and said, you know, she has more ice cream than me. I need more ice cream. And he said, I don't want you to ever look at your sister's bowl again. The only reason you should be looking at her bowl is to make sure she has enough, not to make sure she doesn't have more than you. If anything, you should be saying, I have more than her. She needs more. And so I just thought, what a great, like, and he was a comedian, but I just thought, what a great outlook on life. You know, I think the idea is always competition, and we're always worried about if somebody gets something, I'm not getting it. That's not fair. How about, let's think about 90% of the people who are eligible for this forgiveness make under $75,000 a year, right? And so like, these aren't rich people. I mean, 10% of these people are, you know, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, or doctors and lawyers and making a lot of money, but the overwhelming majority of people are not. So the idea that I would want to hold someone back from economic dependence, from being able to take care of their families, just because I feel like I'm mad because I didn't get some. It's just like, go ahead with that. Like, I really don't have like zero time for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. And honestly, I'm someone who was fortunate enough that my student loans are paid off. And I have zero feeling of envy for anyone who gets to participate in this program, because as you mentioned before, it is going to drive the economy. I think it's going to encourage people to go to school and get a higher education. There are so many people, like, in, unfortunately, like lower income communities who have the talent, who have the smarts, and their only reason that they can't pursue the careers and the dreams that they need the education for is because they don't have the money. You know, think of how many incredible doctors and lawyers that we could have even more of, that, you know, we just don't have because they don't have the opportunity and they don't have the privilege to get into the schools. And, you know, there are grants and scholarships, but competition is high. So I think this is really putting us on the right foot of just getting us to the next level, and maybe back to where we once were. But everyone has an opinion. Everyone's never going to be 100% happy with everything. Kat, so I know you come from London, or the UK originally, and I know higher education works a little bit differently out there. So what are your thoughts on all this?
Okay, so yes, I am English. I obviously reside in the USA. I pay my taxes out here. In the UK, we do pay for our education like you guys do. But the difference is we start paying back our loans when you earn a certain amount. And I think it's not that much. It's like 30,000 or something, but you have to be earning that amount before you start paying it back. And I think that's great. As we all know, the British economy right now has plummeted, it's dived. We've had 3 prime ministers in 6 weeks. Let's just say it's a real mess. What I'm going to say is, it's something I thought about. I agree with everything. I agree that people should get help. I agree that, you know, giving 10,000 when people are paying a lot for an education, that's brilliant. But what I'm going to say is, money doesn't grow on trees. Money has to come from somewhere. At some point, this 10,000 has to be paid back. And if you have millions of students getting this 10,000, it'll come off their taxes later on. There's nothing for free in this world. So yes, they're getting this grant now, but taxes have to go up because of it. It's like everything. It's like if we're funding wars, if we're, you know, in the UK, we have the NHS, that comes out of taxes, you know. Our health system's not great. People don't get doctor's appointment, people don't get operations for a number of years. But if you're desperate, you have the NHS, you can get affordable drugs. Here you need health insurance, or I'm sorry, you go and you're gonna die, you know. And that's the reality. It's brutal over here, but there's nothing for free in this world. And I think it's very blinded to say, oh, well, you know, brilliant, I've got 10,000 less to deal with. Well, no, because you have to pay that off with your taxes later on. And, you know, it affects everyone. You guys who have paid off all your student loans, it's coming off your tax, it's coming off my tax. And the same with, you know, like, we have so many other issues in this country. There's so much homelessness right now, inflation, people can't afford food. We need projects for that. And I think the courts have stopped the student loan in its tracks right now because there are other priorities. And I'm going to say, you know, Britain made massive mistakes under Liz Truss. She wanted to basically, well, I'm not quite sure what she wanted to do. She didn't do much apart from F the country up. But she was really going to mess up, well, she has messed up the economy, because she was going to kind of give the rich a bit of a free ride and tax the poor a bit. She was going to I think, try and do tax cuts, but it doesn't work. Money has to come from somewhere for the country to function. And whilst I think it's beautiful that we help students out, it's beautiful we help the needy out, it would be wonderful if this country had a healthcare system that, you can go to a doctor, perhaps you get a certain amount of credit a year that you can use. If you're desperate, you go to your GP. I think that would be beautiful, but you need the money to finance it. And with this USA, the UK probably fits into California. It's very different. You are in this magnificent country, you are basically running 50 countries because it's so huge and there's such a big population. And I think it's very difficult to do that. I think Biden has a heart of gold for what he was wanting to do for the students, but whether or not it works in reality, because somewhere at some point this money has to go back into the system, and it's how we're going to do that. It comes through tax.
I actually dug myself into a hole earlier on Google because I do understand that point. Like, obviously nothing in life's for free. And then I ended up getting for like, who pays the national debt? Who's the most in debt? Are there any countries not in debt? Does this debt mean anything? And it'll really like mind suck you if you get into it. Cause like at the end of the day, we hear all the time, like, oh, well, the country's in debt. And it's like, I feel like every country's in debt. Where is this money? Are funds being misappropriated? Like, we need to have a conversation, because clearly, I think Kat, I can't remember which one it was. You mentioned that the gossip industry was $3 billion. Let's funnel that into the national debt. Like, where is that $3 billion going?
Well, when you look at it, you made a really, really good point.
Yeah.
It's like Britain is billions, trillions in debt. Obviously, we help out. Everyone sent so much money to the Ukraine. And yes, we do need to send money to the Ukraine. We need to do what we can to help. But like you said, where's this money coming from? It's like an ongoing, like Biden sent billions over, and the UK done the same. And it's, where is it coming from? And there seems to be a never-ending bank, but yet the countries are faltering their own people.
Yeah.
And I think you have to look at the world as one. So you have to say that, whether or not you're English like me, you're American like you guys, whether you're Russian, Ukrainian, African, Indian, we are all sisters and brothers. And I think you have to look at it, we look after the world as a whole. I think if you're too self-centered, too blinkered, like I only look after Americans, that's when there becomes trouble. And I think countries do have to help each other out for kind of friendships, basically, to keep the world a place that functions, because it's, as we all know, as soon as there is an imbalance of power, stuff happens. And I think it is all about give and take, help those in need out. When we need help, we would hope that other people helped us. Sure. And I just think, I have no idea where this money comes. None. Ask the politicians, because I think it's a never-ending bank of big fat zero. They're borrowing money that doesn't exist. I
just think of Harry Potter. Like Gringotts, and it was just like the little elves of the teller, and they're like, yes. That's what I think of. It's all fantasy money at this point until someone shows me like a national debt like invoice, that, because I don't know, I feel like everyone's just making up numbers at this point. It's very interesting if you dig yourself into a Google hole, as I did. Bettina, what are your thoughts on all this?
I think it's important to encourage higher education. I think it's a really great thing. I think it's important for us to have more smarter people around in this country. So I think, I don't know, I was pretty excited about it. I thought it was great. I went to college 100 years ago, and it wasn't very much at that time. And my parents paid for that whole thing, so I didn't have that experience. But I think it's important. But I also think there's other things we should be focusing on, like what Kat said about our healthcare is in great need, and I'd love to see everyone have universal healthcare like they have in Canada, where anyone would just like get the help they need, and that would be so good for the economy, because then people wouldn't be spending all money on healthcare. We'd be able to like put that money back into the economy and let it like, be part
Yeah.
of the system. As for the national debt, like, did you ever have something called the Jubilee year or something like that, where all of a sudden every debt is wiped free and they start again? This happened like in ancient times or something. They're like, every 7 years, the country declares Jubilee year, and like all debts all across the world are wiped out. Like, I'd
No,
like to
I've
see
never
that.
heard of that.
Yeah,
I'd like
that's
to
an ancient. Yeah, that's an ancient practice.
like an
Yeah.
ancient practice. So
Mhm.
why not like establish that in today's society? Because it's so far into debt that it makes like no sense. And if the government is like printing out money, and really universal principles are like, this is an abundant world and we have everything we need. Like, for me, like whenever I need something, and if I look to the heavens or something, or visualize it, I manifest it like this, like some crazy stuff, like all the time. So why not we all have a prosperity consciousness and kind of change the vibe of how we think about money and things we can have? And I don't know, that's my opinion, if that makes sense.
That's a really good point, and I'm glad you mentioned the Jubilee year, because I felt like maybe earlier it came off as I was like making too much light of the national debt, and I get it's a very serious thing, but that's also like part of my brain is like, well, who controls this? Is it really a deficit, or is it just like,
Can we just start again?
yeah,
Have you ever had
exactly.
like so much
That's the
debt on a credit card that they're just like, forget it? I've had that. They're just like, it's 7 years or it's 10 years or whatever. They're like, yeah, forget it. I've had that.
Yeah,
Let's just do that
Wow.
with the whole thing.
yeah,
The
honestly, and
world, with the world, like a reset.
It's the same. Like, if as a person you have so much debt, you just go to court and you're like, declare yourself
Please.
bankrupt.
Right,
And
yeah.
right.
man, there is ways of wiping debt, but it's this kind of magic money where we're just dealing it out and dealing it out, it makes currencies worthless. It makes, look at like the Zimbabwean dollar, worthless. Look at, I mean, the Indian rupee, pretty worthless. The Great British pound right now, worthless. Because the more you get yourself into debt, the more you take loans, the more you Liz trusts the world is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
The more worthless the economy becomes. And I think you need someone smart to run the country, very smart. You need a good financial advisor, you need a good political leader, and they have to work hand in hand. And, I think this dealing out money that we don't have, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, because like you said, where does it come from? It comes from taxpayers, but how much tax can people actually afford? Because you can't tax us to the point where we just cannot live.
Mm-hmm. I know it looked like Kay had another point she wanted to make too.
No, because Kat said something about bankruptcy. I mean, you go there and you can have everything wiped clean. And I just wanted to highlight that most of the time, student loan debt is the one type of debt that you can't get discharged during bankruptcy. So I think that's also really interesting to think about.
I mean, I do think it's important. I like the idea of the debt the whatever, $10,000 debt forgiveness, as long as it's not going to people who are like have great wealth and they are kind of scamming to get this extra $10,000. I think it should really go for people who are in need of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of great points made there. I do want to keep things going and talk about health because, finally fall. I think LA is catching up to the rest of the world. Things are cooling down and sicknesses are going around. Before we hopped on the show, we were talking about COVID and like our own personal experiences with it. Seems to be going around again. So how do you stay healthy during the flu season? Do you have any tips for anyone? Are there any budget friendly recipes you like to make, or any, little tips of the trade? What do they call them? Like, not mother's secret, you know what I mean? Like old wives' tales, maybe, to help you stay healthier. How about you, Kat?
So I'm going to say I do believe in the natural immune system of the body. So I think if you catch flu, it's probably good because you build your own immune system up. But I do believe if you're feeling a bit under the weather, vitamin C really helps boost your body. And I know every time, you know, I've spent a long time in South Africa. People are feeling under the weather. They are dosing up on those fizzy vitamin C tablets. They are eating oranges after oranges after oranges. There's a lot to be said about natural medicine, you know, through foods and stuff like that. I think healthy body, healthy mind for a start. I think what you put into your body, foods like McDonald's, I'm sorry, it's not doing you much good. Yes, every now and again, a Big Mac is great, fries are great, but you need to get the vitamins in there. You need to get the minerals in there. You need to give your body a fighting chance. And I think, you know, I think if you're mentally in a good place, you're physically in a good place, you look after your body with food, I think that goes a long way to helping your immune system, because as soon as you're really stressed, as soon as you get depression, your immune system is attacked by your own body. And it's about keeping yourself in a healthy state of mind, a healthy state of fitness, a healthy just state with food. It's about looking after yourself, because our bodies do attack ourselves. You know, if you end up malnourished, your body's immune system's low, and you need to, you know, you're going to catch stuff. You're going to catch the common cold. You're going to catch this. You're going to catch that. I don't really believe in the over-the-counter medicines like, you know, the flu syrup or the cough and cold syrup. Just, it's makes you feel better. It does make you feel better because you feel like you're doing something positive. But is that making you better? Because your body fights things very quickly anyway. By the time you've gone and you've bought the cough syrup or the flu stuff, your body's already pretty much halfway along fighting the battle anyway. So I'm just going to say, look after your body, look after your mind, eat nutritious foods, eat healthy foods, and vitamin C, people, vitamin C.
Yeah, that emergency, the fizzy thing you were talking about before, that is fabulous. So back when COVID first started breaking out, my mom actually sent me a pack of those to drink every morning. And then it was elderberry gummy vitamins, and that's supposed to like do well for your immune system. And I did find it make a difference. Actually, one time, short story before I move on to Bettina, but one time I caught a really bad cold. It was like the trip to Pittsburgh from hell for my friend's wedding. Her wedding was amazing, but like everything that could go wrong with the trip went wrong, and we caught colds. And we were there during the winter, and we still want to go out for New Year's, so we went to the GNC, like the vitamin store, and we bought like elderflower syrup, and we did shots at the counter. And do you know what? We were good as new the next day. So it's amazing what like natural remedies can do. Are they the be all end all? No, but do they help? Should we look more into them? Absolutely. Bettina, I know you are a fan of stuff like that. So what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, I like what Kat was saying about I do a lot of citrus and orange juice and stuff like that. I also take zinc every day because I heard that it's really good for you know, for your immune system, as well as something called cat's claw. It's an herbal tincture that I put in my coffee every day, and that is supposed to kill viruses. And I do that every day, and I take zinc every day and vitamin D. And I tell you, I mean, my husband's got COVID, but I have not gotten it. And so fingers crossed I don't get it, but I do my best to really take good care of myself. I'm a vegan, so I try to eat like clean, pure vegetables most of the time. And I work out 4 times a week. And I do a lot of healing energy. You know, I do the type of healing energy I do called vortex healing, as specific types of energy called immune boost to run through your system to keep that, immune, up. So I'm really, into all kinds of like herbal tinctures, but those are the most ones that I use. And getting enough rest and taking as best care of yourself as you can, massage and bath salts and oils, essential oils that I like to use that fight off viruses. And diffusing. I have a diffuser that puts like healing, good vibes in the room to keep away all the viruses. Yeah, so all that kind of stuff.
I love that. Like so
Yeah.
many natural things around us that can really help, like in conjunction with all the science and everything. Like, why not use everything the world has to offer us?
Everything. I mean, I got vaccinated and I got all the medical stuff too, but I think the most healing you can do, and I do a lot of reading from someone called the medical medium as well as other things, and I I try to stay on top of that stuff.
Yeah. I feel like by doing all ends of the spectrum, you're better equipping yourself, to stay healthy and on top of everything.
Most
I love that.
definitely. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
100 years old. I still have a lot of energy.
Yeah. So, Kay, I know you probably have a lot of thoughts on this, especially because you have children. So it's like you're not only looking after yourself, but you got to keep little ones healthy too. So talk about that.
Yeah, I think one of the a huge turning point for me is I have one of my best friends, and her kids are immunocompromised. And so when they were born, like her kind of educating our whole friend group, she was like, listen, you guys have got to have flu shots. Like you can't even be around her kids without flu shots because the flu virus is deadly for them. So because of her, I got in the habit of doing the flu shot because I was like, I'm really healthy. I don't normally get the flu. Like I'm good to go. So I think it's interesting that sometimes the preventative health things that we do are a benefit to us, but also a benefit to others. So I get a flu shot every year because I'm thinking about her and her daughter, and her son. I think like if I want to come hang out with them, I want to make sure that I'm protected because I would be devastated if I ever got them sick, right? And so I think that's really important. Another important thing that I do is just like sleep, sleep, sleep. I think sleep is so important. I think it's so easy to have your body be run down and your stress levels to go even higher if you're not getting the amount of sleep that you should. So I think exercise, eating, all of that stuff is really important. But the thing that I do best is sleeping. I
Good for
sleep better
you.
than I eat. I sleep better than I exercise, honey. If I ain't gonna do nothing, I'm gonna be in that bed. Okay, so I think that's the easiest thing you could do, and I feel the most enjoyable for me anyway. And then I just stopped wearing my mask. Like I used to wear, still like on set, some sets require you to wear your mask, but I would wear my mask to church until 2 weeks ago because I know everybody isn't vaccinated, and I just like, I don't know, it was such a like. It was kind of like I was kind of like Linus with a blankie when it came to that. It was so comforting to me because I'm like, I don't know what these folks got. So I did away with that because I got the covariant booster vaccine. And so that was able to, give me a lot of rest and reassurance. I think also a thing I hear a ton, especially during cold and flu season, is just wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. So that's what I used to do with my kids a ton. When they were in school, it was just like wash your hands, wash your hands. Don't touch everything. Don't touch everybody. Like washing your hands is so important to get rid of like 99% of cold and flu viruses. So
yeah. You brought up an interesting point about the mask because that's what I was gonna say. Like I'm pretty much, at the point where I go out maskless. But if I have a big event coming up, like, so in December, we're going to be going to Florida for my cousin's wedding. And I know the week leading up to that, that's like game time. I don't want to get sick. So if I know I'm going to the crowded supermarket, we're masking up because I don't trust anyone. Am I like boosted? Yes. But like, God forbid Murphy's Law, like, I don't know, put me in a bubble suit. I'm not getting sick for this wedding. It's a Disney World. Like, no way, shape, or form, we're missing out on that one. And I think that maybe a silver lining of COVID, not to make light of something so serious, but maybe a small positive we could take away are the masks because we didn't really use them all that much before. But I can't tell you, like, how many people I know, even my brother always used to get colds all the time, and they just dramatically decreased since people started wearing masks. So I think there is a lot of good that came out of it. Listen, I will be the first to be like, they are annoying. I hate when my breath fogs up in my face. Like, they're not a fun time, but the benefits do outweigh the annoyances in certain situations. Another thing I am big on is it's called pastina, and it's Italian penicillian. It is obviously not FDA approved because it is literally just pasta. But my mom used to make this growing up. If you didn't feel good, it's like, all right, I'll make a pastina. Like, so it's pretty much broth, but I know I haven't made it out here, which I really should. There's something like you boil an egg into it, and it's just the consistency of the broth and the little pasta and the egg, and then she puts grated cheese in it. Oh my God, it's like a placebo effect. You feel amazing. Like the hotness just decongests you, so you can breathe a little bit again. And it's just something special, I think, about like your mommy making you your pastina when you're little, and like when you're sick, you know, if you live across the country from your parents like I do, you have that thought of them. So that's really special. I did mention herbal remedies before. I am also big on ginger ale. Again, not FDA approved, but anytime my stomach bothers me in the slightest, you bet I am marching to the supermarket. I am grabbing saltine crackers. I am grabbing ginger ale. Like, it is the most placebo medicine, like, God bless. I don't know. I have it in my fridge right now. Like, I love ginger ale.
Oh, ginger is so good for you. If you're feeling run down, ginger shots, fresh ginger shots.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about remedies, the weirdest one I've heard, and I've heard it works really well, is if you put Vicks Vapor Rub all over your feet, then you put brown paper and you put socks on, because your feet, you know, your feet have lots of sensory areas.
Yeah.
And apparently, if you go to sleep with Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet with a piece of paper, I assume so it doesn't leak through the socks, or paper bags on your feet or whatever, it's meant to really help, like, fight the flu, fight the colds. I mean, I know I have some Vicks by my bed. I sometimes put it on my wrist because my wrist it's a sensory area. And, you know, I do think it works. I mean, Vicks works for a lot of things. I mean, all it is really is eucalyptus.
Yeah.
But that is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I'm going to say, Kay, hats off to you for having the flu shot for your friend, because my mum is also immunodepressant. And if I'm at home staying with them, my doctor forces me to have the flu shot, because it's about wellness for her, because if she catches it off me, she's dead. So I'm not anti-vaccine. I wouldn't get the flu shot out of choice. I wouldn't get the COVID shot out of choice, but I do it out of respect for other people. Like, now I don't have the flu shot now, but if I went home for Christmas, I would be getting the flu shot the first day I landed, because it's respectful to my mum, you know?
Yeah. And I think part of health is, you know, just being conscious of everyone around you, kind of as Kay mentioned earlier. And then even you, Kat, when we were talking about like countries helping each other out, like, I think that's the bigger picture, even when it comes to health. So lots to chew on there. I do want to take it to our final topic, which kind of relates to health. It is wellness. We've been dealing with some heavy times in the world. Forget about it. We just spoke about the pandemic. Now we're dealing with inflation, and it's just, everything feels so heavy. And it's important at the end of the day to take care of yourself too, you know, because I feel like a lot of people forget that. So what are some ways that you like to stay grounded that we can maybe share with our audience and help them out? And Kay, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just practicing my daily and monthly spiritual practices. I think I talked a lot about forgiveness on the last show, and also about just gratitude and being grateful for what you have. And I think that really helps with staying grounded kind of in the midst of hardship or when you're in a difficult situation. For me personally, that's what my daily spiritual practice helps me with. And then also, as far as helping other people, I mean, it plays into my daily spiritual practice. I fast once a month, and I fast for 2 meals, and I take the money that my family does too. We take the money that we would have used for those 2 meals, and then we donate it. And so that's one of the ways that we just kind of keep in remembrance of people. And then on those special times, we're usually fasting and praying, if not for ourselves, then for someone else who's in a difficult situation. And then I just try and remember that even past that portion of the month. We do it the first Sunday in the month, just throughout the month, as I talk to people, as I'm interacting with people, anybody that needs prayers on my behalf, I try and to offer that to them in special situations. So it just makes me kind of stand outside myself, because I think it's really easy if you're going through a difficult time just to be like, woe is me. But I think it's always really helpful to always, number one, practice gratitude, and then try and help someone else out with whatever load they have. Also, my church partners with the Foothill Family Shelter, which is a family shelter in our area. We usually do food drives for them a couple of times a year, but on Thanksgiving especially, they do a food basket drive where they have a bunch of Thanksgiving foods that you can put in a basket, and then they do a turkey for them too. So you can do a basket for them, or you can just donate the money and they'll do the basket for the families. And so we've done that since we've moved here. That's always really great to do. And last year, my daughter and I were able to go down to the actual shelter and help just to assemble the baskets, which was really awesome just to see like that in practice. We didn't have to like give them to the family, but we just like put them all together. So everybody gets like cranberry sauce and the turkey and the mashed potatoes and the dressing and a brownie or a cake. And so it just felt really good to help people that were in need. And I think it's really important also just to remember, especially with my family, like Thanksgiving is a pretty big deal. I mean, it's a big Black family Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? So it's just like a ton of food. It's just like always way too much. It's always way, way too much food. And I think it's just always good to have like, when you're doing something that's just like big and plenty and, just kind of over the top, it's always good to remember people who might be struggling, who might not be in that same situation. And then also last year, I have a sister that has a nonprofit and she does a lot of community service work. And so she got a ton of turkeys donated and we were able to give turkeys out to needy families as well. So she's always doing something awesome and amazing. She's constantly just like a great example of thinking about what can I do to use what I have to help other people who might not have, so I think that's really important to do too.
Those are all really beautiful things. That's really inspiring to get involved, and hopefully it encourages. I know it encouraged me. Like, I used to do so much charity in the past. Like, I was part of a community service fraternity co-ed in college, so like we did a lot of acts of service together that way. But I haven't been, if I'm being truthful, I haven't been as active just because that when it's not in your face, so to say, like, do this, we're all doing this together, you kind of forget about it. So that was just a really beautiful reminder to get involved. So thank you for that. Bettina, how about you?
Yeah, that was really that was inspiring. That was great. I mean, I was just thinking of like simple things, like when I get upset maybe about my own life, like some small things, I try to remember like that I have so much and I'm grateful and there are other people that are struggling and that I shouldn't get bogged down in my worries or my frustrations because I'm in a good place and I have lots of blessings and things to be thankful for, and to try and just like smack myself a little bit to try and like stay on a vibe of gratitude and remember there's so many people out there that are struggling, and that kind of wakes me up a little, to get out of my own depression when I do get upset, which is not that often, but it does happen.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
think
So many
like
people in so
meditation
much worse
and spiritual
situations.
practices and all that, as you were just, that's so important. Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of them encourage you to look inward. And I feel like we don't spend enough time with ourselves. So like if we're not looking inward, it definitely is like easier to get lost in your own upset. But like when you spend some time with yourself, is that the be all to end all to everything? No, but I think it does help just refocus and kind of shift your mood.
Yeah. So look out. See who else needs help. What can I do to help somebody else? What do they need?
Yeah.
It's the best way to get out of your own way.
Definitely. That's so important. Kat, how about you?
Oh God, I mean, I think if you're struggling in life, you can't make rent, if you can't pay your bills or whatever, just look at everything that's going on globally. There's the Ukrainians, there's, stuff that's happening in Russia, Haiti, stuff that's happening in Pakistan, the people devastated by the hurricane in Florida. You've got all the animals that ended up homeless. You have all people in devastation, and yet, you might not be able to pay rent this month, but you are still good. People generally try and understand you, even the most corporate company, providing you get your rent in sometime that month. If you go and talk to them, say, look, I have been struggling, the checks are in the mail or the checks are on their way, I will get you paid. I think people will try and understand, especially with the current economic environment. For me, you know, when I get in my head about stuff and I get in my head about situations in life, I do like to look at the world as a whole. I do like to look at the troubles that other people are going through. And I think, how can I help? How can I help people around me? Is if there is somebody struggling that I know, don't make a big deal of it, but hey, let's go for coffee. It's on me. I'd love to see you. You know, just give them company. Don't be like, don't ever treat someone as a charity case. If you're going to the store, you know, if you get rewards from the store, pick up some tins and donate it to a food drive, you know, don't use stuff selfishly. Christmas gifts, I've been thinking about this a lot, is people, we have so much, we really do, you know, even everyone likes a gift, but do we need a gift? No, we have life. You know, a kid, perhaps you get gifts for your kids, but why not say to your family, say, look, instead of buying each other gifts this year, let's donate to Ukraine, people in need. Let's donate to animal shelters. Let's try and donate to different charities around the world where people really are up the SHIT, you know. And I think you've got to be, we're in a time where everybody in this world is struggling, but some people are in devastation. Some people are just financially, you know, very tight right now. And I think, you know, the best thing you can do is, yes, look after your people around you, make sure that they're okay, but be creative. You know, if you're going to give a gift of love that will help someone, you know, maybe far off, you're never going to meet the person. But I saw this thing in the news the other day, and there was dogs in Ukraine, homeless dogs that used to have families queuing up for a food dispenser, and it was some producer of a film that had donated this food dispenser. And, you know, donating to support shelters out there, donating to support people, you know, like Kay was saying, the charity boxes that her church creates, it's a beautiful idea. We do that in the UK. My mum does various ones, but they give them a list of items. So it would be like personal item, gift, soap, food, and you tick off all the boxes, and every single box is a bit different because it's something that you've thought about, this will be nice, and you wrap all the gifts inside or whatever, you wrap the box, and it becomes a lot more personal that way. And that's something that we as a family, we've always done. We've always, you know, we don't do Thanksgiving, but we do other stuff. We do like the Harvest Festival in the UK, and at the Harvest Festival, we donate food. Right now, normally my apartment blocks, and I'm quite surprised by this, normally they have a food drive going by now for people who need during Thanksgiving. They haven't started that, so I'm doing my own. I'm saving stuff right now, and I'll take it to a food bank. You know, I'm going to try and get neighbours involved. I'm actually going to email the office and say, hey, look, we have a month, let's do something. Because I don't think people are thinking enough about others right now. And yes, we might be struggling ourselves in life, but it doesn't mean you should be selfish. And I think the act of giving, even if it's small, it makes you mentally happier in life. And even if you're struggling yourself, the fact you've done something to help someone else, it's a big thing. And I think it's really important. We shouldn't be blinkered. We shouldn't be self-centered. We shouldn't be worried about, oh my God, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. I don't have next month's rent, and just making it about you, because you're internalizing everything. You're internalizing your stress, you're destroying yourself. Instead, think, you know, I've got all these blankets that I don't use. Perhaps I can find a charity that can take them out to the Ukraine for winter, because, you know, as we know right now, Russia is cutting power to the whole of Europe, but they are bombing power lines and stuff in the Ukraine so that these people will freeze in winter. It's barbaric, it's cruel. What can we do to help? And I think it's not just about your local community. I think it's about the world and what we can do. Like, I just can't imagine what the people in Florida have gone through. They've lost everything. They've lost their pets. They've lost their houses, you know, all their memories. I've got shivers down my body right now. Sorry. It's made me a bit emotional, to be honest. But what can we do to maybe make these people, make their holiday season a bit better? You know, if you have a family and you have an extra seat at the table, is there somebody that's going to be on their own? Perhaps invite them round. It's little things that help a lot of people, because there are people that are mentally struggling right now. It is it's not just financial, it's a miserable time of year for a lot of people. People have lost people in COVID, people have lost pets, people have lost, you know, relatives. Just, it's about caring for others. And that's my thoughts on it all.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And I love, you mentioned a good variety of things. And even if you are in a position to help, like you said, there's just different ways that we can reach out and help someone. You know, it might not have to be monetary or with goods. Even paying a compliment to someone, or, you know, what I like to do if I see someone, if I'm like at the supermarket and I see someone struggling, like I'll help them, or holding a door open, or just being polite to wait staff, like just saying please and thank you no matter where I go. Like, I pride myself on that. Like, how do I want to be treated? Because one negative comment or one negative interaction, it can be like devastating to someone. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what the straw that's going to break the camel's back is, and you don't ever want to be the cause of that. So I always try and be polite and surround myself with people who reflect the same values, and we can uplift someone. If I like your shirt, I'm that person who's going to run out of my way to tell you I like your shirt. I remember one time I was in line. We were at a mall, I think in Pennsylvania, and there was like an older woman in front of me, and she didn't have enough cash to pay for a smoothie. And I was just like, just add it to my bill. It's okay. Like, you know, that little $4 smoothie probably made her very happy. So just little things we can do. And I love how sometimes stores during this time of year, they'll do like, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar to help this food bank, or St. Jude's Children's Hospital, or breast cancer awareness? And I'm like, yeah, like my bill was already like, however, and 65 cents, like it's no extra change out of my pocket, pretty much just to round up to the nearest dollar. So I think there's all different ways that we can get involved. And I love that we've had this conversation, because I really think that we've given so many different options to our audiences. And I hope we've inspired them to, you know, do something different to make someone smile or make a difference in their life this season. So with that, I know we spoke about a lot today, and I'm so happy you guys were able to join me. Thank you so much. So thankful for our lovely hosts. We have Kat, we have Bettina, and we have Kay. This is the FNL Network Talk Show. Thank you for joining us. We do this every single week. So, you know, we'll see us next week. Bye.